Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to Vibe Nation, and today we're here to watch another video. Today we're here to watch a video called Anime Talk by Emperor Zero. I enjoy listening to Emperor Zero whenever I'm either editing or I'm doing some other task, and I like to listen to him in the background, and that he does make very good points in his videos. And I saw this talking about the old and the new Broly, and since we watch some Dragon Ball related content on this channel, I thought it would be a good idea for me to react to this video, as I would like to see what he thinks about the old versus the new Broly. So let's go ahead and jump right into this. If you want to watch the original video, the links down in the description down below, and also the link to Emperor Zero's channel will be there as well if you want to check out his other discussion videos on different topics. So let's go in 3, 2, 1, and play.
We have a problem. And that is him. I've been replaced. What the hell you want me to do about it? You're just gonna let them replace me? He's canon.
Let me start by saying something right off the bat. I think Broly is one of the most overhyped fags in not just Dragon Ball, but anything in fiction. I personally do not understand what people see in this guy. I mean, he's a Super Saiyan, he's got muscles, and he's evil. Big deal. But for some reason, despite the simplicity of this character, he has one of the most devoted fan bases. And these guys are so good at sucking this dude's dick that Toriyama just said, fuck it, this dude's canon to the overall story of Dragon Ball. If canon even really means anything when it comes to Dragon Ball nowadays, I don't fucking know. Me personally, I don't really give a fuck about Broly one way or another. I mean, sure, when I was a kid, I thought he was cool like everybody else, but now that I'm a grown adult, with critical thinking skills, he's really not better than any other movie villain. However, I thought it'd be fun to do a little video comparing the Broly of old to the new age Broly, as well as clear up some misconceptions about the character, as there are quite a few. Now, before I get into this, I did create a poll wondering what you guys prefer, the old Broly or the new Broly. And while some people like the old Broly, a lot more preferred the newer one. And considering how controversial my last anime opinion was, and yes, Ichigo Kurosaki still sucks, hashtag don't give a fuck, I can't help but feel like this is gonna be another controversial opinion that I have, for I too prefer the old Broly as opposed to the new canon one. And I'll explain in this video why that is. So first up, let's talk about Dragon Ball Super Broly for a little bit. So one of the things that I absolutely hate about this movie was all the promotional material coming out for it, claiming that this was an original story by Akira Toriyama. No, the fuck it was not. This film is literally the definition of copying somebody else's homework and then changing things up a little bit so it doesn't look that obvious. He added in Dragon Ball Minus, which I acknowledge that he stole that from himself. Dragon Ball Minus is an original idea by Akira Toriyama, and I'll touch on that a little bit later on in the video. But one thing that he did not create was the story of Broly or even Broly himself. That was somebody else. And yet Akira Toriyama still uses similar beats from the original Broly film in the Dragon Ball Super film, like Broly being born with a ridiculously high power level, King Vegeta taking notice of this and trying to get rid of Broly, Paragus using Broly to get revenge on King Vegeta by killing Vegeta's son, Vegeta, Paragus having a way to control Broly in case he gets out of line, and Broly hulking out into legendary Super Saiyan form. The problem is these moments are in Dragon Ball Super Broly, but they're watered down for no good reason at all. Like for instance, King Vegeta doesn't try to kill Broly and Paragus like he did in the original film. He was just gonna send Broly off to some distant planet. Or like how Paragus still wants revenge on Vegeta after like 40 fucking years. Now, the original Paragus also wanted to do this as well, but at least in the original film you can make the case that Paragus couldn't find Vegeta until the events of this film. In Dragon Ball Super Broly, Paragus was stranded on that desolate planet for 40 years and still want to get revenge on a person who had nothing to do with your situation whatsoever. Also, Paragus in the original film was a full-fledged villain, and this guy right here is just kind of a beta cuck, so I can't understand his reasonings for wanting to kill Vegeta after all this time. Or like with Broly and his shock collar, I can't be the only one who thought that that was completely stupid. Like, first of all, how is somebody with this high of a power level being hurt by the electric shock sent through that collar? In the original Broly movie, Broly had that little tiara that calmed him down, but it didn't hurt him. It just kind of made him relax.
And I wholeheartedly agree with that, because that doesn't make any sense. If anything, for Broly, somebody who is literally that strong. We saw how strong he is in the old and in the new one. So in the new one, if he is that strong, why in the world would you give him a shock collar? He should be able to break out of that thing at any given time. If he's because if I remember, he was terrified of that thing. So why in the world would he have just broke that thing immediately? However, in the old one, where they had like that tiara that kind of calmed them down, like basically mind control, it's a lot more. I would say that it makes more sense and a lot more effective than a shock collar. Like even a dog could take off its own shock collar. My sister's dog could literally remove its own collar and or muzzle if it wanted to. So this to me makes no sense whatsoever.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense. But here in the new film, Broly can be hurt by his collar and is even afraid to get shot by his collar. Now, I'm not saying that Akira Toriyama and the rest of the people that were working on this film should have done the exact same thing we've already seen again, but if you are going to use these moments, then use them to their fullest effect or make them better. But
I'll even say that too. Yes, I agree with that as well. Use them, make them better, or use them to their full effect. But even if they did do the same thing, I think people would still appreciate it that they're adding things from the old and bringing it into the new. And yeah, they should definitely touch up on it. They really added this shock collar as if that was supposed to be better, when in reality it really wasn't. It really wasn't better in any way, shape, or form. You telling me that this powerful being is being tamed by a shock collar when I'm pretty sure they've got like a whole bunch more advanced equipment to put the reins on this dude? Like, come on.
don't have him in here and then tone him down for no reason. And speaking of toned down, Broly's character just got neutered because he's not even really a character in the film. He's there for the sake of fighting Goku and Vegeta, and that's basically it. He has no real personality or anything, he's just a blunt instrument for the sake of fighting the protagonist, for the sake of giving you something cool to look at.
You know, now that he mentioned this, I am going to go ahead and agree, because even when you think back on it, you say, yeah, I watched Dragon Ball Super Broly, but give it like some time. And after probably watching like Dragon Ball Heroes or Dragon whatever, you knew you watched Dragon Ball Broly. But really in reality, what of Broly do you really remember other than the fact of just the fight scene? You remember nothing else than when Goku Vegeta was fighting Broly, and that's it. Nothing else. They don't talk about what happened before that. All we know is that he was on a planet and now he's here to fight. That's it. Nothing else.
Like, say what you want about the old Broly, whether he was a good villain, bad villain, whatever, it doesn't matter. He was a villain in general. Like, dude was a straight up psychopath. He loved to cause death and destruction wherever he went. Like, old Broly felt like a tangible antagonist, whereas the new Broly just feels like he's there for the sake of fan service. Case in point, the Gogeta versus Broly fight. Now, this isn't even an original concept right here, because fans have been clamoring for it for years. It's been a thing in many video games. And just a year before this movie, there was an attraction ride at Universal Studios of Japan called Dragon Ball Z The Real 4D, which features God Broly going up against Goku, who has fused with the audience. Now, it's not Gogeta, but still, it's a very similar concept to what happened at the end of this film. Now, my point in saying that, besides blatant plagiarism, is that Broly's whole existence is fan service. Nothing more, nothing less. He's never going to become this great, compelling character. This is who he is, plain and simple. I mean, if you need any further proof to that, ask yourself this. Why is Broly giving two Saiyans, who are on god tier levels of power, a run for their money? Like, I know that Broly was born with an incredibly high power level and all that, but Goku and Vegeta primarily at this point in time will succeed whatever latent power Broly has, or at least they should. With the original Broly, everybody that participated in that fight was around Super Saiyan levels. Now, Broly in the film succeeds Super Saiyan levels, but he wouldn't be able to take on somebody that's beyond that. Like, he wouldn't be able to take on a Super Saiyan 2, which
Well, okay, let me go ahead and give my idea of this. And anybody else would like to go ahead and give their opinion on this, feel free to do that in the comments. But my thought about this is that, if I'm not mistaken, Dragon Ball Super Broly came out what, like at the end of Dragon Ball Super, and there was this argument on about the universe Six Saiyans and how they were able to achieve Super Saiyan so quickly in comparison to everybody on the Z Fighters. Now, me, however, the argument was that because they didn't know anything about Super Saiyan, that they've been working in their working or training in their base form, and that's why they were already strong enough to just up and break the barrier, which when I say it out loud sounds stupid, but it kind of makes sense in a way. So I'd like to go ahead and apply that same type of logic to the new Broly, and being the fact that he was stuck on a distant planet and he only had his father and that, I think, that monster that he befriended before his dad, I think his dad made it kill him. I don't, besides the point. It's for all we know, Broly only knows that Super Saiyan was a myth and a legend, and like he never taught Broly, and Broly never knew about Super Saiyan. So basically, he's just been training with this absurd power level from when he was just a baby, and now he's able to give these two Super Saiyan gods a run for their money, at least when they're separate and not fused. With fused, of course, we saw the end result, and that's as much as I'm going to say about that.
Makes sense given the information we know about Saiyans and their transformations. But in Dragon Ball Super Broly, they forsake the rules of the world of Dragon Ball for.
Also, I can understand where he's coming from about, old Broly, because when the ending came for Dragon Ball Z Broly got taken out by Goku after he got, like, the the energy from Piccolo, Vegeta, and Trunks and Gohan, and he, if I remember, he punched Broly in the solar plexus, and then he twisted, and then that was it. Like, it took Broly out, and that was the end of the movie. And he was only at Super Saiyan 1. So if we were going to go ahead and take that, idea and transfer it over to to the new movie, it wouldn't make sense for Broly to be giving two Super Saiyan gods a run for their money. But I guess that, in the new movie they tweaked it so that the theory of him working in his base form until this fight happened made more sense for him to keep up with Super Saiyan God. Because if they were just gonna go ahead and bring him in and he had it improved and he just got taken out by Goku and Vegeta in their Super Saiyan 1 forms again, it would have just been like, well, what's the point? What was the point of getting all these extra forms? There would be no spectacle for it to be had. It would just been over, just bam, done. So yeah, I believe that they kind of that for this movie they had to tweak a few things, just like them watering down the backstory, but tweaking everything else in gearing up for this big fight between Broly and Goku and Vegeta.
For the sake of putting on a spectacle. Like, this is realistically how the fight between Broly and Vegeta should have ended. And that's it.
You silly. But yeah, exactly what I basically, thank you for adding that. It at least gives my what I was trying to say, some visual.
It's over. Broly is down, they are victorious. But of course that would be too boring, and instead of building up Broly proper, we're just gonna have him be able to compete with two Saiyans that are basically gods at this point. So whatever. Now going back to the original Broly and the events of the original film, a lot of people say they prefer the new Broly over the old one because he has a quote-unquote better backstory. Now usually what people refer to when they talk about Broly's backstory is Goku cried as a baby, and this is the reason why Broly hates Goku and why he's super strong and why he's evil. But what if I told you that this claim was false? Let me explain what I mean by that. You see, Goku crying as a baby served as the catalyst for Broly breaking free of his father's control. Like Goku crying next to Broly when they were babies is probably the single worst memory that Broly has, because everything else is just Broly getting off on all the violence and destruction that he's causing. And because he only has that one bad memory, when Goku shows up, he remembers Goku crying as a baby, and that gives him enough of a push to make it so that Paragus can no longer control him with his little tiara. And Goku crying did not make Broly evil, he was already evil. In fact, every single Saiyan is inherently evil. Even Goku was before he got hit on the head.
Yep.
Also, Broly does not hate Goku. Sure, Goku crying as a baby did annoy him, but he has no real animosity towards the dude in particular. Like, look at the fight between Goku, Trunks, Gohan, and Broly. Broly doesn't even go after Goku first. He goes after Trunks first and then makes it clear that Gohan is next. So after Goku tells Gohan to get the hell out of Dodge, Broly folds Goku real quick and then immediately goes after Gohan. Now if he really hated Goku, he could have just left Gohan alone and continued to beat Goku up, but he doesn't. In fact, there are plenty of times during the Broly fight where Broly could have just continued to wail on Goku, but didn't for one reason or another.
This scene right here, I will never forget this scene with Broly literally just standing there with his arms folded and just bobbing and weaving between Piccolo and Goku was the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen. And actually, guys, if you guys want to go ahead and see my CD to Champ video on Broly has Black Air Force Energy, I will link that in one of the cards up on the top of the screen, and you can click that and you go check that out too. But this right here is just utter disrespect.
But it's not like Broly had it in it for him in particular. He was putting hands on all the Z fighters. He, just like any other Saiyan, just wants to prove his superiority, albeit Broly is a bit more aggressive when it comes to this aspect. Now you're probably thinking, well, what about all the times he goes Kakarot, Kakarot? And you're right, he does act that way in the second film, Broly's Second Coming, and primarily in the video games. In those two mediums, they do over-exaggerate that, but in the first Broly film, Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, he does not hate Goku or is angry with him in any way.
You know what, that makes sense. And I would say, yes, he would have more of a reason to go after Goku in his second movie than what's been shown here in the first movie. And there's a lot of good points to show that, yes, it doesn't seem like he has any, it's not that he hates Goku in particular, he just wants to fight, just like any other Saiyan. And since Goku beat him the first time, now he's out here in the second coming, trying to find him and wants another match. He wants another go at him.
He just wants to fight because that's what he loves to do. But anyway, now that I've cleared some things up, let's go into talking about his backstory proper, shall we? So Broly as a baby started off with a very significantly high power level. King Vegeta saw this as a threat to his rule and tried to have him executed. Paragus tries to intervene, which leads to King Vegeta trying to execute him as well. And later that day, Planet Vegeta gets destroyed by Frieza, but Paragus and Broly survive due to Broly's latent power. And then they're left wandering around the universe for years, with Broly wreaking havoc wherever he goes. Paragus tries to stop him, which leads to him getting his eye punched out by Broly. And so he has somebody make him a device that will calm Broly down and keep him in check, allowing him to use Broly for whatever means he wants to, like destroying the South Galaxy, for example. And that's basically his backstory up until Goku and friends arrive. Now let's look at DBS Broly's backstory for comparison. Now again, he has a ridiculously high power level, and King Vegeta sees him as a threat to his rule, but instead of trying trying to kill him and his dad, he just sends Broly off somewhere else, and Paragus follows suit. And despite Broly having this super high power level, he could not defeat a bunch of those weak monsters on that planet that he got sent to without turning into a great ape. And instead of him and his dad doing their own thing, they're just kind of stuck there for 40 years until Frieza's henchmen come and find them. And that's basically it until the present day. So I mean, what was so special about his backstory this time around? The fact that he
I don't know. Maybe they were expecting, like, what wasn't introduced into this movie. They were expecting, like, oh, we're gonna have the audience kind of just use what was from the old movie and fill it in. And it's like, okay, you already know what happened. You already know his backstory. There's no need for us to go and spend more money animating this. We're just gonna go ahead and let you fill in the blanks on your own, and we'll just segue into the fight.
befriended that one monster and keeps its rotting ear on his chassis? Okay. Now the thing is, I know the movie wants you to feel bad for Broly and his situation, but I personally just can't. Partially because this is the umpteenth time that Dragon Ball is doing something with Broly, but also because Broly himself is lacking in personality. And the reason why he's lacking in personality is because his only reason for being here is to give us a fight, and that's it. Other than that, there is no proper emphasis given to him. Don't believe me? Well, let's compare the importance between old Broly and new Broly. So in Broly the Legendary Super Saiyan, they immediately stress the importance of this guy by saying that the South Galaxy got wiped out and Broly was the cause. This catches the attention of King Kai, who sends Goku on the case to go investigate. Meanwhile, Paragus lands on Earth and brings Vegeta over to New Vegeta so that when the comet hits that planet, it'll kill Vegeta, thus having Paragus get pseudo revenge on King Vegeta for what he did all those years ago. But Goku ends up arriving on New Vegeta as well, and of course this agitates Broly, who breaks free of his father's control and going on a rampage. All the while, the comet is getting ever closer to the planet, so not only do they have to fight Broly, but they're also on the clock to defeat him as well, because if Broly doesn't kill him, the comet sure as hell will. Also, the flashbacks gave insight to Broly's character as well. None of them felt wasted like they did in the new film. Seriously, what did Dragon Ball Minus do in Dragon Ball Super Broly besides create unnecessary problems in the story of Dragon Ball? But that's one of the worst stories in Dragon Ball anything, and they added it in here for what? Padding? Y'all could have given a little more to Broly instead of doing that, because on top of just adding multiple layers of unnecessary retconning, it just feels lazy because the groundwork is already done for you in the story of Dragon Ball Minus, so you didn't have to create anything new, when you could have taken your time to make something new and make Broly a compelling character, but didn't. Broly's importance is
And I agree with that. Like, there really was no point to doing that. How many times has the story of the Saiyans been told? Like, what happened to them, Frieza, how Planet Vegeta was destroyed, and just it's been told over and over again. We know what happened. So it would have, and since this movie is literally called Dragon Ball Super Broly, there should have been more, you know, background, more story for Broly. I mean, we didn't in the old movie when we had Broly, it's not like there was much background to Broly. Well, other than, him crying, and then effect when we meet him when he gets older. That we got some backstory. But in this case, with the whole story about how Planet Vegeta was destroyed and whatnot, it kind of just took up a space where there could have been more. They could have fleshed out Broly more, since they were going to go ahead and make him canon, and I felt like that was wasted.
in Dragon Ball Super is non-existent. Like, let me ask you something. What are the consequences of Goku and Vegeta losing the fight to Broly? Frieza getting 5 centimeters off the ground? You can't say that they'll destroy the planet because they destroyed the polar ice caps and the planet is still there. So the planet can't die apparently. Frieza isn't gonna take over the planet because Beerus and Whis practically live there and ain't gonna sacrifice the food over to Frieza. At the most, Goku and Vegeta might die, and even that's just a might because Frieza survived survived a 1-hour ass whooping some fucking how. But even if they were to die by Broly's hands, Whis would just rewind time and give him a do-over, let's be real. Now, one thing I don't want people to take away from this is that I think the original Broly movie is perfect. It's not perfect by any regards, but it is more coherent than the newer Broly film, and honestly, I'd much rather have a more coherent mess over a piss-poor story. And this isn't me trying to change anybody's mind on Broly or anything. Like, if you like either or the other Broly, then by all means, more power to you. Like I said, I don't care for either Broly. However, if I were to pick one, I would go with DBZ all the way. But let me know what you guys think. Did I not give new Broly a fair shake? Or is he, like I said, loaded fan service? As always, if you liked anything I had to say, don't forget to hit the like and click subscribe. Also, follow me on these social media platforms. You wouldn't.
Okay, so my final words to this whole thing. In the beginning, about that whole poll that Emperor put out, most people that liked Dragon Ball Super Broly more than likely was just because of the fight and the animation art style and everything that it brought. I'm pretty sure that's why the majority of them like it. Everybody likes something new, and especially if you're rebooting something. However, if you're a guy like me, I like everything to be, I like a good story. I really like a good story. If you got a good story, you can pull anybody in, to be, in my opinion. So in my last thoughts, it's going to be the story, definitely old school Broly. That story is a lot better, and there's nothing watered down. The new one, the story isn't that great. The whole thing with adding the destruction of the Saiyan planet and whatnot, that really had no business being there, because everybody's known about it. There's been non-canon movies about it. There's been we have video games about it. We get it. They really could have done more to flesh out Broly, or tells Broly's story in detail, being the fact the movie was basically about him. And I mean, his name is on the movie, so there's that. So, but for the fight, however, I can't really say for sure if I like the new or the old one better. I like the new one because of the art, the fight, obviously, and I just liked it. I liked it. It was visually appealing to me. The old one is just, well, to me, is just a classic. I liked it for what it was, canon or not. And when he said about, there's a bunch of times that, they've done stuff with Broly. I mean, look at what they did with Kale. I mean, Kale was basically a female Broly, so we can add that to the mix. Anyway, guys, yeah, that's all I can say. I truly enjoyed this video. I feel like it made some very good arguments and very good points. And the only thing I would touch upon is the whole power level thing with Broly going up against Super Saiyan God level Vegeta and Goku. If the fact that they're trying to make it canon, then my thing is that he's been in his base form for 40 years with this insane power level that he's already had since he was a baby. So him working and training so hard in that condition, I would say that he would be quite strong when he breaks into legendary Super Saiyan form, multiplying his power over. So anyway, tell me, guys, what do you think? If you want to watch a original video, I will leave the link in the description along with Emperor Zero's channel. Go ahead and check out his videos if you're the kind to listen about topics of discussion. And well, that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. I'm out. Peace.